This is an old Civil War song based upon an even older Sicilian melody. Home, Sweet Home, Winsted, Connecticut. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Home, sweet home. Let's make Winsted great again. We can do it if we give it a try. This program will play on July 6th and 7th, Thursday and Friday, and be repeated on the following week on Thursday and Friday, and maybe even after that, depending upon what news we get about candidates running for office. On this program, I'm going to try to explain a little bit about how anyone, state and locally qualified, can run for office by contacting the state, getting the right paperwork in the mail or over the internet, if you're internet astute, filling it out, getting it agreed at the town hall, sending it back to the state, and from the state, getting a petition that you need to fill out and get a certain amount of people that are registered voters in Winsted to sign. So I'll talk a bit more about that tonight and repeat it over the next few weeks, because there's still time to sign up to run for office without being a member of the Republican Party, Independent Party, Democratic Party, or any other party that's registered with the town. Now, I'm toying with the idea, based upon a lot of suggestions from people around town, that I form a small party called the Trump Winsted Party and run for office, trying to get my platform planks across to all the people in our town. Now, whether people vote for me or not, I don't really care. I don't want to sit through all those meetings. I'm really going to run for the finance board. Probably won't even vote on any selectmen type things. I'll recuse myself on those, much like one of the finance board members and selectmen does now on the school discussions. So he doesn't vote on 65% of the budget, schools. But he can vote, I guess, on the finance stuff. And then I'll encourage people to vote for people who will agree to follow my universal platform for all candidates running in November, no matter which political party they represent. Now, you have to be very careful in Winsted, because people have what I call hidden agendas. They like to hide their true feelings about anything. And sometimes they'll say they're in favor of something. When it comes right down to it, they're not. They're probably just in favor of the opposite. Now, when I run, I won't have any hidden agendas. All my agendas will be in the platform and its planks, as I've always done and will always continue to do. I've done it all my life. No sense stopping now. Well, just when we need truth and honesty. I'll tell you how I vote before I get elected. And if I get elected and stay the course, I'll vote that way. Now, if I do get elected, which many people think I will continue my policy of not having any hidden agendas. But I'll speak the truth. And then I might even have a chance to correct some of these people when they speak at the end of the meeting in selectmen's comments and rant after public comment is done and nobody has a chance to reply. It's often picked up by the newspapers. Makes it even worse. So anyway, none of that for me. And I always use my name. If I write a letter to the newspapers, I'll sign my name. I won't use pseudonyms as many people do when they write letters to the editor or comment online. I'll use my own name. You'll know who I am. You'll be able to call me up or send me an email. I'm not going to accept any money. If I do run for office, and I still haven't made up my mind for sure, I got to go through the paperwork with the town and state and see what's possible. But I'm not going to spend any money. I'm going to use, like Donald Trump, I'll use electronic media wherever I can. Any signs I do make, I will pay for them myself. I'm not taking a nickel from anybody. Often when I walk the lake over the last 15 years, people offered me money to help pay for the handouts and signs and all. And I just tell them no. I don't want any money. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to try to get this platform with its planks in the heads of as many of these people running for selectmen and finance board and board of education as I can. So anyway, I'm going to get on now and explain to you what the process is for applying to get on the ballot for the November election for selectmen, board of education, finance board, and whatever else you want to do to help make Winsted great again. I think those are the most important. Really, the Board of Education and the Finance Board are the keys. And boy, do you have a lousy Finance Board now, and the Board of Education, same there. Not many people who understand finance. Well, luckily, we have a good town manager who does understand finance, and a much stronger finance department with a finance director who understands finance. And I'm assuming we have a much better auditor than we've had in the past, although the past auditors have always pointed out that we had serious problems. It was the finance board that never paid any attention to that. And of course, we had money stolen from both the town and supposedly the schools. Money missing, if nothing else. So anyway, now I'm going to get on with the explanation. If you got any questions, just go down to town hall and talk to the town clerk. Always remember, though, that the town clerk is an elected official as well, and perhaps favors the candidates of her own party over those of other parties or unaffiliated or the Trump Winsted party if it ever forms. So you have to double check anything you hear from the town clerk and make sure it's accurate. What I did was contact the Secretary of State by telephone and listened to her message directing me to hit number 1 of the many choices she offered. So I hit number 1. That brought me to the department that deals with these issues. I left a message because nobody answered. When they're busy, they don't answer. You have to go to their answering machine. But the lady did call me back within the hour or two and told me that either I could go online and download from their website and get the papers I needed to apply to the state and town to run for office in November, or she would send them to me by mail. So I asked her to send them to me by mail, and she did. I received them a couple days later. I immediately copied them at the community college library where they have a copy machine. I used to go to John DeWan's, but he doesn't have one anymore because he's closed. So I go to the college library, and then I also can scan them in. But the library is closed, so I went down to Staples and scanned them in onto my thumb drive. So I have electronic copies as well as paper copies. The forms have a few different alternatives. You can run on a minor political party. You can set up your own political party under certain conditions. And you can run as a write-in candidate with no political party. Basically, the 3 options available to qualified residents. You follow the instructions on the forms, write them out, ask the town clerk if questions, or perhaps call the person down working with the Secretary of State, and then when it's done and signed by the town clerk, you send it back to the Secretary of State Department, and they will send you a nominating petition. You fill out the nominating petition with the correct number of signatures. I think the number of signatures that you need to run unaffiliated or as a write-in candidate is 1% of those who voted in the last election in town. That's about 18 signatures, one of which will probably be your own. So that's that. Now, if you want to set up your own political party, you can do that. There's a way to do that on these forms. You fill those forms out according to the directions. Again, you take them to the town clerk to make sure they're accurate before you send them off to the state. And then you send that one off to the state, and they'll send you back the nominating petition that you need or to get the number of signatures that you need. They do require 25 signatures on the petition. Then, in the case where you run unaffiliated or as a write-in candidate. Now, I haven't gone through the process yet, but I am going to do it. By the time you see this, I probably have started it. I do have the papers, so next time I do a program, in a few weeks, I should be able to tell you whether I'm running or not in a November election, and I should be able to tell you whether I'm running on a new political party that I'm going to try to set up or not. Then you'll have a pretty good idea what I'm going to be doing for the next election. And if you want to join me, then you can go through the same process that I'm going through. If I can, I'll help you. You should get all your help you need from the Secretary of State and me, and I'll try to give you a hand because I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot in this process. I never tried it before. And then my name, and perhaps a new political party will be on the ballot in November. Now, all these have time frames. You have to get everything done by certain dates. That's in the paperwork that you'll get from the state. But there's still plenty of time. There's plenty of time if you move quickly and get going. There's plenty of time to run for office as a writing candidate, unaffiliated, not with any major political party or minor political party like the Independent Party or the Green Party or anything like that. There's still time. On the next program, Make Winsted Great Again, episode 12, I should be able to tell you exactly where I stand and what I'm going to do. Meanwhile, I want to go over with you once more the universal platform and planks that I'm putting together for anyone running for office from any party to consider. And for all you people in town that are going to vote, to be able to ask questions of the candidates relating to this universal platform and its planks. So here we go with number one. Based upon feedback over the weeks and months by many people around Winsted and elsewhere, there's a tie for number one. There are two planks that are number one. The first one is to resolve the exorbitant school cost to the Winsted taxpayers. The school costs are now 65% of our budget. We've just approved a 2-year contract with Gilbert, not a 10-year contract or a 20-year contract. And we have 2 superintendents, 2 of this, 2 of that, 2 of everything. So that must be addressed. 65% of the budget, and one of the finance board members and select person can't even vote on any. I think he walks out of the room whenever they discuss the school budget because he is on the board of the Gilbert Trust. Now, people have said to me, Brian, do we really have exorbitant costs for the schools in our town? And I say yes. Most towns and cities in the state now have exorbitant costs. We perhaps can do more about it because of the duplication, etc. As a past president of Internet Systems Corporation, I believe that the Internet will eventually wipe out the teachers' union as everybody goes online and more applications are added around the world. Education should become cheaper, and everyone over the years will benefit by that, especially our overwhelmed taxpayers. Many residents think that Grow the Grand List should be number one plank on its own. Others don't agree. And the reason they don't agree is because they think it's easier to cut the school budget than it is to grow the grand list. So I have put cut the school budget as number one, part one. And I have now placed number one, part two, as grow the grand list. Of course, you have to do both in parallel, but they both need to receive the same amount of emphasis. We have 2 ex-principals on our Board of Finance. Not very numerate, in my opinion. Never run a business the size and importance of our town. This has got to stop. You've got to elect people that have financial backgrounds, have run big businesses, preferably have MBAs from major institutions, a lot of experience, and hopefully worth quite a bit of money themselves so they can afford to help our town, as Bob Geiger is doing now and as Marcia Sterling did a few years ago. You need to find more people like that. They will help you. Bob and Marcia are both doing the right thing. They don't always agree on everything, but I think they both agree on these two plank number one issues. If not, I haven't heard differently. Second, in degree of importance, is plank number two. Very important in this universal platform that I'm recommending. It's called balance the cost structure. That means, in simplified language, don't spend more than you earn. Don't plan to spend more in future years than you earn. This is very important for you to understand. You don't want to spend money, get in debt, pay interest, pay fees, etc. You want to grow the grand list, cut the school spending, and balance the cost structure wherever you can so that the town will survive with its new good finance director, its excellent financially qualified town manager. I'm told we have a pretty good finance department, but what we don't have is a good finance board. You, the voters, must take care of that in this next election. Please, elect candidates that understand finance, have run big companies as CEOs, COOs, vice presidents, made a lot of money, know how to grow the town, know how to think big, know how to get things done, know how to get people to work together without necessarily getting along together. You can often work with people that you don't get along with. It's very important. We have the thing backwards now. We think getting along with everybody is more important. It's tougher, and all businessmen know this, to get along and get the job done for the company with people that you don't necessarily agree with or get along with. This whole emphasis on getting along with everybody is not a plank in my platform, and I don't run on that. I won't get along with everybody. What I'll do is tell the truth, have no hidden agenda, and get all these planks exposed to the town, state, and federal governments, whether everybody likes it or not. Plank number 3 is next in importance and will help us to achieve plank number 2. And this plank is to seek a state statute change, very important, that has been pursued at the state level by Republicans, but not to any degree of success. So the town budget due date is after, or can be after, the state has approved its budget for the next fiscal year. Right now, we approve our budget before the state has approved theirs. It could be 2-3 months, maybe more, before the state approves theirs, and this year we're finding out that the state is dumping on us. At the time of this recording, I've been told that with the state budgeting in the situation it's in now, governor more involved than he was last week, we might get cut by $2,500,000 when we only have $450,000 reserved for state cuts in our budget. Now maybe we can come up with a little bit more than that. But this might be tough for our town to handle. We might have to have another supplemental tax, and if we do have one, you won't most likely be able to vote on it, because they can, in an emergency, like they did the last time, implement a supplemental tax of 3% or so without voter approval. So we need to get to the state. We need to get them to change this. We have to work with everybody at the state level, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, anything we can, to try to get in a situation where their budget at the state level is approved before we approve our local budget. Once that happens, that may require us to change our own charter, which of course we can do. I originally wanted to change the charter, but I've been told by feedback from those who know, and there are plenty of people who know the state statutes that watch my programs, that we need a state statute change to be able to properly budget in our town without unexpected hits from the state approved budget after we have already approved our budget at the town level. Again, we can argue about the priorities of any of these planks, and they can be moved around a little bit, and in reality they all have to be approached in parallel anyway, but they have to think big, spread the word, and get these planks implemented over time. We're no better than Donald Trump. He's having a rough time. His party's split. The Democratic Party is split. The Democratic and Republican parties are split, etc., etc. But next in the order of importance for now, until somebody can convince me otherwise, is to do like the Harvard Business School recommends. Publicly forecast budget and expenses for the next 3 to 5 years. This is normally done with information you know and with information you have over the past, say, 10 or 12 years of what's happened each year with budget and expenses, revenue and expenses. Then you can forecast what you think will happen over the next 5 years. Where you have information, you can use it. If you know you're going to get in $50,000 from Uncle Sam next year, you can put that in. If you know that you're going to lose $50,000 a year next year, then you can take that out of the projections. Same with the state. Same with the grand list. But we don't do any of that now. My son has made a spreadsheet and a forecast. It's not been updated yet since the last audit. I'm looking for someone to do that. I think I know somebody who can help out. But nobody wants to do it publicly. None of these finance board members want to put this out, because then they'll have to explain when they can't make it. And they can't make it happen. Also, these things are Harvard Business School reviewed every 3 months. And if you're not on schedule with either expenses or revenue, then you have to make decisions, hard decisions, out in the open, public decisions. That's one of the things I would push for very hard. If, by some real miracle, I was elected to be on the finance board without name recognition, without nepotism, without voting on selectmen issues, without all that kind of thing, without belonging to a major or minor political party, except for, perhaps, Trump Winsted, if we can get it named. But anyway, we really need this bad. It's a very, very high priority. Encourage everybody that's running for office to explain their position on this and ask them to push for it if elected. That'll be a big help to Bob Geiger, the Harvard MBA, well-off, business successful town manager that we have now. Again, you can argue the place in this platform for plank number 5 could be higher, not lower, but it could be higher, it could be tied with one of the top ones, is that the candidate should promise that they won't raise taxes any more than the prior year's grand list growth. Now, this year was a good year for us, although kind of insignificant, but a good year, because the grand list, by a strange set of circumstances, grew a little more, so we didn't have to raise taxes. Now, when the government comes down on our head here over the next few months, we might have to either cut spending for the fiscal year, or we might have to have a supplemental tax. And it may or may not be voted on by the voters. Now, they'll try to stall any of this, I'm sure, until after the November election. They might not be able to. Depends on when the government makes their decisions. The government at the Connecticut level may also stall some of these cuts until after the November election to help out the town and city people wherever they can before they are out of office. In fact, it won't help out the town and city people at all, because in the end, they're going to have to pay more. Pay more tax, pay more tax, pay more tax. Get less help, get less help, get less help from the state. Get less help, get less help, get less help from the feds. We'll get a lot of help for the land trusts. And we'll get a lot of help for the 501(c) nonprofit companies, that kind of thing. But bonds will be harder to get to fix buildings, and taxes on automobiles, vehicles, property, etc. will go up as a result. Well, we originally wanted to change our charter so that supplemental taxes couldn't be instituted by the finance board selectmen alone, even in an emergency situation, without a vote by the taxpayers. But I've been told, with excellent feedback from people, that that needs a state statute change to be able to implement. If we can get a state statute change, then we can change our charter, and they won't be able to do what they did last time, put out a 3% supplemental tax without a vote by the taxpayers. Now, they'll argue that, oh, this was an emergency, we had to do it. Somebody stole the money, somebody misspent the money. Well, my argument is different. I'm running on a different cylinder that says we had bad management of the money. We didn't have the right checks and balances. We didn't listen to the auditors. We didn't do any of that stuff. We didn't have a good board of education. We didn't have good financial controls in that area either. So we ended up with a supplemental tax, 3% or so, that we all had to pay, a one-time tax. That's money that can't be spent on your home improvements. That's money that can't be spent on your children's or grandchildren's education. That's money that can't be spent on your retirement needs. That's money that will be spent on people who can't manage the finances of the town. Question Finance Board applicants on this plank to see if they're in favor of getting the state to change the statute so we can change our charter to enable voting on every supplemental tax proposed by our weak finance board and equally weak Board of Selectmen. This is an interesting plank, which a lot of people will disagree with, but good businessmen will probably agree with. To minimize the money that is required by state and local governments, as they all come with conditions. Takes 3 times as much money to do things with federal money or state money, because you have to follow all their conditions. You have to build a bridge for a 10 million ton truck, although only a 500,000 ton truck will run over it. That kind of thing. So you should earn really before you spend. You want to run up a lot of debt. Why do you want to do that? It can only come down crashing on your heads like the state money is doing now with their $5 billion shortfall over the next few years in revenue, because the people aren't paying as much tax as they used to. The state's answer is to cut the towns and cities and raise various taxes. That's their answer. So I would say concentrate on the first couple planks of this platform. Earn the money. Get a job. Winsted needs to get more jobs. I talked to somebody today who said, well, we're all getting along together well. And look at these few things that are happening in our town. And I always say, well, let's look at the spreadsheet. Let's look at the extrapolations for the next 3 to 5 years. 12-year spreadsheet, by the way. 13 maybe by now. Let's look, see what that tells us. It's the bottom line. The bottom line is what counts. So anyway, take less, earn more. Take less, earn more. Yup. Take less and earn more. There's no free ride. Nothing's free. Everything costs more money. The normal response to this plank is, well, if we don't take the money from the state, if we don't take the money from the federal government, then somebody else might get it. Somebody else might get it. Another town, another city, another state. My view is, let somebody else have it. Manage your money wisely. Earn before you spend. Earn before you spend. The argument here on this plank number 8, will be from the not in my backyarders at Highland Lake and in Winchester. Now, these are very, very few people, but they hold important positions in the town on the P&Z board, the ZBA board, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and other boards. So they have a lot to say and they get their way. Meanwhile, the town people, the people who do not live in Winchester, the people who do not live at Highland Lake, are suffering. That's why you see places empty, stores boarded up, factories empty, slow growth for those that are trying to improve their factories, like Capital Products or the Furnitureless Building on Main Street. They're making very, very, very slow progress. Not enough to help us earn before we spend. Now again, everybody will say, look at all these good things that are happening now. Look at all these things that are happening. They never say, yeah, but they're not growing the grand list. They're not balancing for the people that are leaving the town and stores closing because of the internet over time. Most people now go to Torrington or towards Hartford for all their shopping. That'll become more and more, not less and less. So we need to get better people on planning and zoning and the Zoning Board of Appeals. That takes a long time because they have long appointments, 5 years or so. I'm not sure about ZBA, and I haven't got time to look it up now, but P&Z is 5 years, so to replace the people on P&Z will take a long, long time. Meanwhile, we will be sinking, or barely holding our own, if that. These people got us in this pickle. How do you expect them to get us out? All you can expect from them is more to come. More bad management to come. So ask a lot of questions of those running for office in November about this issue. Once the POCD is updated, it's essential that we update the P&Z regulations to enable more local business and clean industrial growth. Now, many will say, well, we just upgraded the POCD and the P&Z regulations. Well, in a well-managed town, they change them every year with a small amount of money to keep in step with what people want to bring to our town. So we need to evolve these every year, update them, make sure we know who wants to come to our town and what they want to do here, and then help them to do so. It's not good to continue the policy we have now of, let's tell them what we want in our town. Let's tell them. And if they don't like it, they can lump it. We need to change that. We need to change that. So this year in November, when you're voting for people, those are the kind of questions you want to ask them. But be careful of the old say one thing, but mean another. Often they'll tell you that, yes, we want to do that. We want to do that. But the hidden agenda is a plan to do just the opposite. A plan to do just the opposite. They'll stall you off by saying yes. They'll stall you off But meanwhile, they'll continue to employ their hidden agendas. We can't have that. We can't continue that. That's what's got us in this pickle in the first place. Go down there, as I always say, down by McDonald's around 5 at night or 8 in the morning and watch that traffic scream out to jobs elsewhere in the state, businesses elsewhere in the state, stores elsewhere in the state, jobs elsewhere in the state, restaurants elsewhere in the state. Go ahead and watch them. Go down there to McDonald's. You'll see it all. So when they're running for election, talk to each candidate. Find out what they think about these planks, especially this one. And then pin them down. Once they're elected, pin them down. Ask them, well, you're elected now. What are you doing about those promises you made when running for office? This is a big one, and it will take forever because of the changes we have every couple of years in town managers. I always switch back and forth between Democratic and Republican majority on the Selectmen Board and the Board of Finance. Yeah, this will take a long, long time. But it needs to be done. It needs to be done. The people who do this will help the town tremendously if they can succeed in appointing major business experience residents to the major town boards and commissions while they are in office. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, well, we got a lot of business people on our Board of Selectmen, Finance Board, and even some on our Board of Education. But these are small potatoes type businesses. These are just local businesses in their wife's name or small potatoes. People like Bob Geiger, myself, Marcia Sterling, John Gauger, Wayne Dove have experience in big corporations where they can't just tell people what to do. They have to manage the people. They have to take care of all the people and all the customers and all the employees by working with people that they don't get along with, perhaps, but have the right ideas about all the planks on this platform that will help to make Winsted great again. That's what we need. I can't emphasize this enough. I can't emphasize it enough. These people that have the smaller businesses want the town to be like Litchfield, Goshen, etc., Great Barrington. They run smaller businesses. They want the land around them to be left undeveloped, placed in a land trust, that kind of thing. So we need to get them to step up. Again, ask all these candidates how they feel about this, see what they think. And while you're at it, ask all your neighbors too, and see what they think about the state of dilapidation in the town of Winchester, city of Winsted, especially the city of Winsted. When I first retired here in the year 2002, we had a revaluation every 10 years. Now it's been changed in Connecticut to every 5 years. And every 5 years, if we devalue our properties, they will increase the taxes to compensate for that loss. And although most people don't understand it, including our present mayor, this is a tax increase. Whether you like it or not, you're paying more for less. It's just like going to buy a Hershey bar and you find out it's the same price, if not more, but it's a smaller Hershey bar with less nuts in it, or something to that effect. The new people elected to office in November need to deal with this with the state and try to find a way to resolve the problem for all the taxpayers in the town of Winchester, city of Winsted. Don't elect me if I run for office, which I may do, and you don't like my platform. Don't elect me. Elect those who will continue to ruin the town, as they have in the past. This is an old Civil War song based upon an even older Sicilian melody. Home, sweet home, Winsted, Connecticut. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Home, sweet home. Let's make Winsted great again. We can do it if we give it a try. Good night. On the next program, we will talk about deportment and how to conduct yourself when you're on the Finance Board or Board of Selectmen or Board of Education. Things like follow the charter, follow the state statutes, be open, be transparent, be honest, all that kind of stuff. Good night. Brian O'Haron. Make Winsted great again. Number 11.